about.
Hey, I still hear you, man.
Yeah, you can mute us all, but I got.
Hey, I still hear you, man.
Yeah, you can mute us all, but I got.
All right, y'all, we on. Yeah. I just I want to say something to everybody, y'all, everybody that's listening, and to Lucius and Rod as well. The reason that I started this thing was because I want to know everything that we doing as black men. We get a lot of negative energy, a lot of negative reports, but there are a lot of black men on this planet who are doing a lot of wonderful things. We had two of them on the last time, Labib and James, and they contributed so much to me because I learned a lot about them and I learned a lot about myself as well. And that the most important thing that happened was that I got an opportunity to experience talking to two black men about real important stuff. You know what I'm saying? And they were willing to share their lives with the world, and that is so important. And you guys have agreed to do that as well. So I just want to thank God. I want to thank James. I want to thank Labib. I want to thank you, Lucius, and I want to thank you, Rod, for participating in this because it's real, real important to me. It's real important, and we're gonna we're gonna make things happen. I know that we're gonna make things happen. So right now, I just want to introduce you guys. I want to say first, Lucius, man. This guy, Rod, I've been knowing him, man, for over 50 years. For over 50 years. We started, Lucius, you didn't go to Burnside, you went to Harlan, though. You still on mute.
Yeah. I went to Burnside and went to Harlan.
Did you go to Burnside?
Did go to Burnside, but before Burnside, I came from Shoup in Morgan Park.
Oh, okay.
I was
Okay.
raised, so we hooked up. Me and you hooked up in Burnside and Harlan.
Okay, so that means, man, I'm talking 1960. No, go back. 1963, 62, 61. About 1960 we met.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And so 60, 21, 1, 6, man, that's 61 years, man.
Man, that's it.
Right.
Anyway, Rod and everybody else that's listening, this guy, I had no idea who this guy was. I mean, we went to school together, all that. He was into music. Miss McGlynn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, she was our music teacher. And we were on two different levels. I was kind of like on the gang thug side. Lucius was a smooth Ivy Leaguer, man. This guy here, he was so smooth, man. And the way he talks now, he always talk like that. He always talk like that. But Rod, I just found out some stuff about him, man. This guy has, for 60 years, he's been a professional performer. Not just somebody I knew and my friend. He's been a professional performer. He's performed in Windsor, England, Salvador, Bahia, Brazil, Palermo, Sicily, Italy, and throughout the United States. He's been singing in South Africa, in the South African Embassy, U.S. Virgin Islands, and just some wonderful things. This guy taught at Francis W. Parker School for 28 years. 28 years he messed with them kids, man. That's a lot. I did a 1 year bit in the public school system as a teacher, man. I had to get out of there.
Right.
So I commend you on that.
I got the records to too, man.
Yeah.
And then 59 years as a church musician. 59 years, and he's still doing that today. He's still in the church playing music. And he has his own nonprofit educational production agency called Home Tone Music and Arts Foundation. And also, man, he has a large catalog of original choral compositions that he created, you know. And so this guy, man, I admire you, man, and I don't wish I had done what you did, you know what I'm I'm happy with what I've done, you know, but I commend you on your life, man. You got anything you want to kind of say about that or anything, you know?
Well, you know, it's real interesting, man, with both of us being from Chicago. Chicago is the kind of place for musicians that is a hotbed of opportunity, man. And in Chicago, one of the reasons that I was able to diversify so tough is because Chicago is so diverse.
Okay.
You can make a good living at any one of those. And, you know, so I figured if I could make a good living at any one, I was going to make a better living at all of them.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
You know, but it winds up being a fail-safe, you know.
Okay.
Because, you know, and they all go together. And we'll talk about that as we go along. Teaching, performing, and communicating, and composing, and all of that comes from the same source. So what I was doing was what just came natural from the creator, and it happened to be in those particular kind of areas.
Okay. All right.
Chicago will allow that.
Yeah, right. And it's still happening today. You know, not to the degree it was back then, but you know, it's still happening today. Yeah, Chicago is I love that town, man.
It's a dynamic city.
You're still in it. I'm away from it, but that's my home. That's definitely my home. Yeah. Now, Rod, this guy. Now, I've been knowing Lucius for over 60 years. I've been knowing Rod for less than 60 months.
right, exactly. Yeah.
How long we been knowing each other, man? Probably less. Yeah, I think a little more than 60 weeks, though.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, we've known of each other for probably 3 to 4 years, but we didn't finally get to hook up until the last like 7 or 8 months.
7 or 8 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And his wife's name is Niambi, and Nicole knew her for quite a while.
Yeah.
Before we hooked up with you guys. Now they happen to live in the same state, North Carolina. They've been here a lot longer than we have. But when I don't know how it happened, but one day somebody called somebody and they said, "Why don't y'all come back?" And we did. You know what I mean? Had a great time.
And had a ball.
I think it was before. I think we came before the New Year's set when we spent the night.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and so that was the second time that we came. Yeah. You know, and we've been. I mean, these are our go-to people here in North Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
and me and this guy hooked up. I mean, it was like automatic. It was automatic. You know, and I'm so happy to know you, man. Seriously, you know what I'm saying.
Well, I'm glad you're here in North Carolina.
Oh man, I love it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and whatever else you might want to add.
Yeah. Well, I'm into music as well, but from a perspective of sound therapy. I started getting into music from that perspective probably in like the late 2000s, like 08, 09, around in there, 07. But you know, I worked in the music industry starting at 19. I was a roadie for the Art Ensemble of Chicago. And
Is that right?
Okay. Yeah, and got to travel around the world a little bit. And then went to college, did the finance thing, and then went and worked for the Art Ensemble again for a little while.
Okay.
And since then, transformed myself. Man, I've had to transform myself at least 8 times.
What do you mean by transform?
Basically, I'm a person that has many ideas and many interests, and so I've gone from draftsman to sales manager to engineer, and then basically stayed in the engineering piece for 25 years, 26 years. But even within that, had to, you know, do various things and shift and from getting patents to solving problems to helping people. In other words, from system level all the way down to people level, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And but what really kicked me on my path was working with the art ensemble and seeing
Okay.
how people responded to sound.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
not
Yeah.
necessarily music, but to sound.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been on a journey
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
to learn about music and resonance and harmonics and how that actually can translate into our actual lives,
Mm-hmm.
because everything vibrates.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
from the cosmos to our DNA is
Yeah.
sending off a vibration.
Okay, and we definitely going to get into that, and then I really want to touch on. And I think me and Lucius I just commented on it when I talked to him yesterday. That being that you two guys are hooked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Vibration and music is the same thing. You know what I mean? And so this wasn't intentional. I didn't do this intentionally. That these two guys are going to hook up. But once I invited you two, I said, oh. Damn, they're hooked up already. You know what I mean? And so I'm so excited about this, y'all. I'm really excited because everything that I wanted to happen and more has been happening in these first two sessions, and I know it's going to get greater later. So again, I'm real excited. The thing
yeah.
that I want everybody to know is that again, my thing is that we as black men have so much to offer and young black men are not always aware of what that is. You know what I mean? And we talked
Mhm.
about Lucius and I going back, some years, and I did what I did, and he did what he did, and we both are successful because I love where I'm at, and I know Lucius loves where he's at. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of young men, especially, are not getting that opportunity. And not getting it because they don't know who they are. And so this what I'm doing is trying to let black men, young, old, whatever, understand that we have something to offer. Let's start doing that. Let's start giving. You know what I mean? And you guys are already giving. Everybody, like last time, James and Labib are giving. And I want to know who's doing that, and I want to share it with everybody else. Now, what's happening as far as I'm concerned in the world is that we have to develop new paradigms. Things ain't working the way that they could,
I
and
would agree
we
with that.
as men, I believe, have an obligation to participate in making things work. You know what I mean? And we're doing it already. We're just not aware of what we're doing, And so this is basically a demonstration of what's going on already. So I want to start this thing off. I learned something, y'all, and that I'm going to share with you. But first, we're gonna do it. What I want everybody to do is to get relaxed. Get totally relaxed in your seat. And calm your mind. There's gonna be things on your mind, but calm it as best you can. And if you want, you can close your eyes. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do 3 breaths, just 3. And the way we're going to breathe is that we're going to breathe in and count to 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to hold it and count to 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to breathe out, counting to 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to hold that and count to 3. 1, 2, 3. So I'm gonna say it in terms of the repetitions, and you guys are going to do it, okay? Okay, breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Hold it. 1, 2, 3. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3. Hold it. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Hold it. 1, 2, 3. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3. Hold it. 1, 2, 3. Last time. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Hold it. 1, 2, 3. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3. Hold it. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Return to your normal breathing. Yeah, and what I want to share with you guys, I learned that some time ago, and I've been practicing it, and it's really, it gets to the point where you can do more and more. You know what I mean? You can hold it to 3, 5, 10, whatever the case might be, and it's all up to you how you want to do it. But the reason that is so important to me is that I learned that 80% of the toxins in the body are released through the breath. 80%.
Wow.
So breathing is very important. And I know Lucius knows this, and being in music, breathing is very, very important. You know what I mean? But I did not know that it had those kind of benefits. And I just want to share that with y'all. So if you like, you can practice that at home. If not, it's okay too. But I just wanted to share it 'cause I know it. You know what I'm saying?
You know what's so cool about that, Calvin, is that I've been teaching singing and choir stuff for a really long time, but someplace along the line, I decided I was going to play flute.
Really?
And quiet as a cat, I don't play flute. I am not a flautist, you dig? I am not one of those kind of cats. I turned that over to Nicole.
That's right.
But I decided that back in college, I bought a flute and I've had it. So I'm a closet flute player and I can play scales and I can read a little bit. But I decided I wanted to go to DePaul and take lessons. When I took those lessons at DePaul for one summer, she taught me the very same thing about playing the flute that I had been teaching about singing.
Is that right?
The very same kind of methodology and process for breathing. Right. And I was pretty amazed at it because my old man played saxophone.
Okay.
And he was one of the baddest jazz cats in Chicago. Lucius Bell and the swinging 7/8 notes.
Okay. All right. That's a hell of a name there, boy.
Yeah, they called him Luscious Lou and his swinging crew.
Okay, Luscious Lou and his swinging crew.
And so he was about that the whole time, and I didn't realize it until I started dealing with some formal lessons. But it's all the same thing. To make your point is that it's all about the breath. No matter what you're doing.
Right. I thank you for that. Thank you. I'm the most important thing about what we're doing, you guys, is the sharing. You know what I mean? As I said at the onset, we all got a lot to give, but for whatever reason, we know most of the reason, that being that the way this society is been set up and continues to be, it's about the money. It's about what you possess, what you have. Right. And the thing that is more important than what you have in terms of tangibility, like houses and cars and things of that nature, is that the most important aspect of life? And all of us, I'm sure, will answer, no, it's not. The most important aspect of life is love. And loving one another means that we do things that allow us to magnify that love for ourselves and for each other. And one of those things that we're able to do that we don't do as much as we used to is communicate. You know what I mean? We gotta communicate. And some of the reasons that we don't communicate are predicated on how that might look to another human being. So a lot of things we do is contingent on how we think somebody else is going to look at us for having done it. And so a lot of our focus is on that. And so sometimes we don't want to say something. We want to say something, but we don't say it. Sometimes we say something that we shouldn't have said, So our communication skills are lacking because of the social media, we don't have to communicate verbally or look at each other when we're talking, that kind of thing. And so what needs to happen, like I said, developing new paradigms, that's one of the paradigms I think that has existed, we have to redevelop, and that's communication. And that's basically what we're doing now. And I learned something about life itself, and it was shown to me through a word, and that word being how. And it's something that, what do they call it? They call that, there's something, I can't think of it, but when each letter represents a word, But anyway, I was going.
An acronym.
Acronym, my man. Boy, I got some smart Negroes here. Acronym, that's the word. And so in communicating in anything we do in life, you know, we can use that acronym and apply it to what we're doing. Mm-hmm. The H is honesty. We got to be honest. First of all, with ourselves, we got to be honest. You know, we got to realize who we are, what we do, how we act, and those kinds of things, and admit it at least to ourselves. I got faults, I got assets. You know what I mean? And I know that I do. Whether or not I share them with everybody else or share that with everybody else is my choice. But I know I got it, so I'm gonna be honest at least with myself. Then I'm gonna be open-minded. I'm going to be open to things, because why should I denounce something that I know little about, if anything about, you know? And so I want to be open-minded. I want to be able to receive anything that another person is trying to communicate to me without prejudice or bias or a forethought, you know, or anything that's going to prevent me from hearing somebody out. And then the W is willing. You know, being willing to change something that I'm doing, you know what I mean? Because it's going to benefit others. The way I'm doing it is selfish and those kinds of things. So why can't I change my behavior, not to please other people, but to make other people more comfortable in my presence? You know, and so that's life. How? You know, honest, open-minded, and willing. And so that's what I want to present to all of us. And that's where we're going to go from here. We're going to be honest. We're going to be open, and we're going to be willing to change if need be for the benefit of others. Is that okay with you guys?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. With that being said, let's go about how, and we'll start with you, Lucius. How did you come to the place that you are now in regard to the changes that have taken place in your life? You know, and you can specify those changes if you like, but the changes that have taken place in your life that have made you the man you are today, and who is that man, or how is that man different from who he was at 21?
Well, you know, I think that everything that everybody winds up being or shoots toward is a process. And so the way that I am now is as a result of the evolutionary process.
Okay.
And so what I've learned inside of this evolution is that there are things that have got to be in place. And so when I deal with performing or composing or teaching, I'm dealing with not only those aspects of productivity, but I'm also dealing with a way of being. And so I don't separate. I've learned how, part of the evolution is that I learned how not to separate my music and how it has evolved from my way of being in my life how it has evolved. Okay. And so one of the first things that I do is that I'm grateful. And I acknowledge the source of power that moves me, creates me, and creates what it is that I do. And I want to always be in a state of meditation, like always. I want to be able to recognize how I can get to calm, peace, and reflection if I'm not there, and do that in a meditative kind of way. And I want to be focused. I've learned how to get rid of distractions. I'm learning how. This is not a destination. It's like a process. I'm still learning it.
Right.
Even today, I'm learning how to stay focused on the topics that you put in front of us. You know, let's take care of business. I'm learning how to be authentic. Authenticity is the core of being self-expressed. Learning how to take control of my environment, making sure that I run the set, my own set, I run it. Learning how to be in touch with my emotions. And all of this is about a part of how I deal with my music product, but it's also how I deal with creating me as a person. To answer your question, I learned how to practice as a musician, but I also practice what it is that I'm doing as a human being. And I learned how to be more receptive to new ideas and things that come. And I learned how to teach myself along with learning from other people, because the creator will bring it directly to me, sometimes through people, sometimes directly, to me. I learned how to be unconditional, which is one of the things that has got to be, foremost in my life, because I don't want to be a life that is, well, I'm doing this because I want to make some money. I'm doing this because she looked good.
Right.
I want to do this because it strengthens and empowers me and my expression. And I want to be relentless. I want to not be sidetracked. I want to, I don't want to stop what it is that I'm doing for any particular reason. And so those things, I don't know if it's an acronym. If it was the acronym for that, it'd be a Gummo But it's all of the things that are important to me as an artist, but they're more important to me as a human being, because I can't be an artist unless I'm those things as a human being, to answer your question.
My man. And that unconditionality, man, that's a hard one. That's a hard one, because all the while we were in school, man, you had to have a reason for doing what you did. You know what I'm saying? And there couldn't be like one thing that I do everything because of one thing, and that's because I know I'm supposed to treat others right, the way I want to be treated. That's how I live my life. That's period. Right. You know what I mean? And that should be unconditional, not because they deserve it, or I ain't giving it to them because they don't deserve it. It should be unconditional. Right. And I don't know how it is for you, but that unconditional is a difficult thing for me, man.
It's a rough one, because we're accustomed to making money. We're accustomed to being impressive. We're accustomed to getting something back from what it is that we're doing.
Right.
If you do it just for the sake of being honest and one with the creator, it doesn't have a because.
Right.
It just is. And that's where, that's part of how it is that I appreciate evolving.
Yeah.
Well,
appreciate that, man.
We're all human, man, and we have to. I've learned to be more graceful with myself. I mean, my backstory is not as even as yours, Lucius. I went, I traveled, then went to college, and went into finance, and decided that I didn't want to play that game, because that's what it was. It's a big game. And I saw the game, and I was so disheartened, man. I was like, wow, that's what this is. And they make it seem like you got to know all this stuff to do this. And basically it's just a big betting game. And people, I saw the truth behind how our economic system works at a fairly early age. And I was pretty disappointed in the system. And as being a Black man in that system, it took a toll on me. It did, and I was, by all measures, I was a fairly bright Black young man who, that the whole finance industry, they didn't want to see no Black folks in there. Not really. Not at all. And I decided I didn't want to fight them over their stuff. And so I started to in some ways move toward a somewhat dangerous thinking, not as far as hurting anybody, but dangerous as far as me moving forward. Because you can't move. What I would say to any young person is, you cannot move forward if you pissed off. You can't drive a car mad.
Okay.
You're gonna hurt somebody. And so that's just like my life. You could look at your life as a journey, or a road trip even. And so along that journey, I can't stay straight and in my lane and and all of that if I'm stuck looking in the rearview mirror. And so I experienced a little of that. And so in the process, I went to college for finance and went to a really good school. I'll maybe at some point I'll say the name, but that didn't mean nothing.
Okay.
And man, that hit me hard, man. I was like, wow, I put out all this energy, and they have it like that, where they can just block me. And yeah, I can keep fighting, but I said, this shit's fake anyway. They just taking everybody's money and playing a numbers game with everybody's money, man. It's crazy. So anyway, so I went from finance to sales, and just by chance, when I was in college, I found out that I had a knack for computers, but I was in college for finance. So other than using it for crunching numbers, I wasn't really, it was no big deal. But then I discovered that actually translated into, I have a real affinity and aptitude for computers. So I ended up being an engineer. And what I learned there is about intellectual property. And that's the game that we have to learn how to get into. I just kind of always had like an innovation bent, and I ended up at Lenovo, which is one of the big three computer makers, and so they are constantly looking for patents and stuff that they can patent. And so I got to learn. It was hard, but I got into that club because it's exactly what it is. It's a club. And so I got to see firsthand how it works. You can Google my name on Google Patents. It'll come up at least 50 times. And I'm not an expert at that game, but I love that game. And so I have many passions. And also my sound therapy is all about, and you can definitely relate to this, Lucius, is about being the fundamental. When you have, the fundamental note in a harmonic series, because everything vibrates, so that therefore every natural thing, period, creates a harmonic series.
Right.
And so, how can we live in a world where everything vibrates and has a fundamental and we don't know ours?
Yeah.
What's so cool about what you said, though, Rod, is that you were talking about the games that exist in society. And what you actually did, man, it's kind of like the games are everywhere. And I don't know if we can avoid them. But what you did is that you chose the game you wanted to play.
And well, I'm still in that process. I'm transforming myself again, man. I'm making instruments now. This is my first monochord, and yeah, and that's got to do with harmonics, because in the way our music system works, it's kind of like we digitized music long time ago, before there was anything such as digitization. There weren't any computers. So they split music into 12 equal parts. That's not natural. So natural harmonics, if you once you get into like the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th harmonic, what we have, it's almost like you can't go wrong with music. Music is going to sound good. It's going to make you feel good if it strikes the right chord, pun intended. But it's not really natural music that we're listening to, because the octave has been split into 12 equal parts. And in nature, that's not how it works.
It don't work like that.
Right. And so nature sounds out of tune to us.
Right. Right. You know
Right.
what, Rod? Yeah, we're gonna get there though, man, because I
Yeah,
definitely want people,
yeah.
yeah, to check out that instrument and what you're doing. And you said that you just an average kind of guy, and you talking about 50 patents. That ain't average, man. That ain't average at all. You know what I'm saying? And
Well,
and then you talked about intellectual property. We just give us a brief summary of what that is, because hopefully there's some kids listening. They need to,
right.
if this is where the world is headed, we need to know a little bit about it. So kind of touch on that a bit.
So this is the big game, and this is why we have been used for so long. So
Hmm.
even though there were a whole lot of avenues that were, stripped away from us, the patent office, the copyright office, as far as I know, they don't do a background search to see what race you are, right? So
Okay.
so that's one avenue that's always been open.
Wow.
Always been open.
Okay.
But since we don't know how it works, we end up getting our stuff taken.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
got mine taken.
Mm-hmm.
Lenovo took my stuff.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so and that adds to income inequality, wealth inequality. So I provide them 50 something patents. They get to run with them, and well, due to our employment contract, which everybody who works a job has one, whether you know it or not, you've
Right.
signed. They know that individually we can't hire lawyers. One lawyer wanted $3,500 for writing a letter for
Wow.
me.
Mm.
Right. So that
Wow.
just gives you an idea of what
Mm-hmm.
it would take for me to actually go and get any kind of royalties or anything like that off of those patents. And,
Okay.
and I'm going to get to more to the your point real quick, but just one more point.
Mm-hmm.
What companies do, and our system allows this. This is part of how they take our money.
Mm-hmm.
So they allow companies to lump patents into a bucket,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets a value. So it's like this secret squirrel magic of how they value patents. And
Okay.
it's strictly so that they don't have to pay people.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but then when they go to court with their peers, then they're talking the real money.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And
And
so this
but we aren't
intellectual,
privy to that.
yeah,
And
this intellectual property is something that who owns the property?
well, that's just it. So if you have an idea that's novel, or that
Mm-hmm.
and this might take a whole hour session just to talk about these concepts, but the idea has to use existing technology or methods in a novel way, or it has to be new. There's like, if I recall right, there's three minimum criteria for it to be patentable, and
Now,
those
what you're losing me, because the intellectual property is
includes patents, copyrights, and trademarks. That's intellectual property,
okay, okay,
right?
okay. But
And
if you offer an idea, it's not your intellectual property. It's whoever you offer it to and whoever.
no. What it so let's back up. Intellectual property is something that you can patent, uh, which would be like a process, or a new device,
Okay,
or
okay,
something like that, like
okay.
a product, a good, something
Mm-hmm.
that you can see, or a process
I
where
got you.
literally you map out every part of the
Okay,
process.
okay.
A copyright is like music.
Right.
Music is copywritten. A book is copywritten.
Mm-hmm.
And you have trademarks, which are like logos and uh, uh, doodles for, NBC or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Those are trademark. And so, like with the whole hip hop era, breakdancing, beatboxing, um, there are people not of color. They have a world champion beatbox thing now.
Okay, is that intellectual property?
It should have been. It's my point. But see, we are so creative, we don't even think like that. So the people, maybe not all of them, but many of the people who participated in the innovation of beatbox, most of them moved on. Many of them moved on successfully and did other things, but some of them that was it. That's what they had to offer. The world took it, and by the world, I mean the extreme capitalists in the world took that and ran with it, and now they're making money off of what these people created. And that's what happens to us over and over and over again.
You know, that's amazing, man, because I think it was 1726 in Virginia, they passed a law called manumission. I can't think exactly what it was called, but what it said in essence,
black codes, though.
Yeah, in essence, if you invented something and gave your master the right to use it for his own benefit, then you could be freed as a slave. You know what I mean? And if there was an insurrection, or you heard of a plan of an insurrection,
I know about that part.
You can be free. Yeah, you can be freed as a slave. So that's pretty much, to me anyway, that's intellectual property, and it don't matter, you know, what you do. The result is still left up to the powers that be. And so the slave master could free or not.
What we experienced that, you know, we can put our hand directly on is the blues cats who came up and, you know, wrote the music in the recording studio and and did it for a case of wine
absolutely, man.
It was the recording companies that took the credit for it,
and
made the money
when it was reproduced.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, they've got a thing now and it's really come a long way. But you know, one of the things that was a real big thing with particularly in the hip hop era was sampling, because you can get a bass line or a drum beat, get it sampled and put it on the side digitally. You can put it inside your music and call it yours. Well, they wound up being able to prevent that now.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's a slave mentality that Black folks had to go through.
Right.
And now, particularly in churches, because gospel music has been so big, churches are now able to perform gospel music that is written by somebody else. So the concept of and the laws that govern copyrighted music is that you can't reproduce it. There's no way that you can recreate it or reproduce it in any kind of way, photocopying or recording it, or even singing it when you are in the context of making money. So what they wound up doing was taking all of the gospel folks, bringing them together under one of what's called a church copyright license, and it's a company, CCLI. And what they did is they went to all of the church, all of the gospel musicians and said, we're going to have it so that anybody in any church that wants to produce your song, wants to sing your song, and then reproduce that song on YouTube or any kind of social media can come through us, and they actually pay us.
Wow.
So the church pays, let's say $150, $200 a year, and they have the right to perform a Kirk Franklin song. Kirk Franklin gets a piece of that money just from the membership dues of the church pen. So they're working it out to make sure that the performance doesn't sit inside of a vault where nobody can utilize it. Nobody can sing it, perform it, or distribute it. And being able to do that now is good for the composer. So they figured out a way to do that, and it's called church copyright license, and everybody gets a piece of it.
Wow, that's beautiful, man. And this thing, what's important to me is that the things you guys are talking about, I'm constantly looking at young Black boys, you know what I'm saying, to get this kind of information of what
Right.
what exists, you know. And
Right.
so I'm asking all the mothers, you know, to take all this in and do what you can to share this information if your son is not on board, you know, and no matter what age he is, there's a lot of things happening that they might be able to participate in. And so we got two distinctly different young men right here that are giving us this information, and I want them to kind of elaborate on what it is they do. And Rob, we're gonna start with you this time because you touched that thing you made, man, that invention you got. So I want you to touch it again, show it to us, man, and do a little short explanation of it.
Well, it's not an invention,
Okay.
unfortunately. Otherwise, I would be telling you about how I at least had a provisional patent,
Okay.
and that allows somebody that doesn't have a lot of money to actually have up to a year to get the money to secure the patent,
Okay.
a provisional patent. But this, unfortunately, this is not one of those. But I'm going to switch my mic
Okay.
to this so that you can hear it better. Yeah, so this is a, monochord, and what a monochord is all this. Originally, the monochord, uh, they say Pythagoras invented it.
Yeah, whatever mic you were using, I
Oh,
mean,
I'm
that you
sorry.
switched to.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
The the word is that Pythagoras invented the monochord, and we also know that he went to school and university in Egypt. So anyway, he may very well have taken it to another level, though. So I don't want to discount Pythagoras, but the original instrument had one string, and it was used as a scientific tool and a music tool to figure out ratios in vibration and in length and string length, and all kind of math came out of using this musical instrument. And so now, with the advent of using sound for therapy becoming more prevalent in our society, this is a sound therapy tool, and
Okay.
they're generally multi string monochords.
Okay.
It's kind of an oxymoron because monochord means one.
Right. Right.
But however, they're all usually tuned to one note. And so this happens to be, it may be just a little out of tune, but I don't think it's much. But this is all tuned to G. Yeah, it's just a little out of tune on the, or maybe how I hit the string. And so the reason it's used as a sound therapy tool is because of the single tuning and the resonance of the wood. Your body gets an imprint of those natural harmonics that we had talked about, Lucius.
Okay. Can you turn your mic up a little bit or put it
turn it
closer
up?
to? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna just switch back
Okay.
to
Yeah.
the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can hear me better.
Yeah, yeah, and something that I want to share, and that being that what you do, that healing process itself is something that has been around a while, but is, I think, is being reintroduced, so to speak. And until I met you, I never experienced that kind of therapy. You know what I mean? Sound therapy and healing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's amazing. You told me that every individual has a signature sound or a certain note,
a vibrational signature.
a vibrational signature. And so if you can contact, or that signal, you can determine what might be off, for that kind of thing, in terms of, if I come to you and I say, man, I've been having headaches. You know what I mean? You can use my vibrational whatever.
I call it soul note,
Soul note, right?
Some people call it
Yeah,
home note.
yeah. To help me to offset those headaches that I'm having. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, you can use sound in general, but
Uh-huh.
the advantage of knowing the tone that most resonates with my body is like Lucius was talking about meditating and being able to get to a state of being. And
Mm-hmm.
so the way even the yogis, the first thing we have to do is calm our body,
Right.
because once I can, even if I can't calm it, I have to be able to detach my mind from the body.
I got you.
Period.
I
Yeah,
got you.
because otherwise I'm going to constantly be disrupted and distracted. And so once my mind is free from the body, then it can connect to spirit. And
Mm-hmm.
so the soul note is the tone for each individual that is most resonant between mind, body, and spirit,
My man.
and
My man. What
helps
I,
you.
what I what I want you to do, Rod, is in the event that anybody is interested in what it is that you're doing and might want, therapy or whatever the case might be, how can they contact you?
Yes, you can go to my website, www.sound2tohealth.com, sound2health.com.
www.sound, SOUND,
Yep.
2TO Health, HEALTH.
HEALTH. Yep.
My man.
.com.
Okay.
Yep.
Lucius, come on board, man. I want you to, kind of pitch that piano, man, or your singing or whatever it is, man.
Well,
Tell us how you can make us feel better, man.
yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't come ready to perform, but I did want to talk about the aspects of performance that to speak to what it is that you were talking about, to get people to relate to children, to young people, to folks who are at the beginning of the evolution. And I got a really interesting story that's directly connected to this. Calvin called me one day, a couple of weeks ago, maybe 10 days ago or so, and said that he wanted me to participate in this thing that we're doing, me and you, Rob, and it made a whole lot of sense. What was interesting about that, when he was talking about sound healing that you do, and wanted me to bring in a musical aspect to that, he wound up talking about more and more about the aspect of sound, which was really, really cool. But what's so interesting about that, man, is that where I'm going with this is the relationship between people and the vibes between folks, kind of like what you were talking about. The very moment that Calvin called me, and Calvin, I don't think I told you this, man, but I was coming from the assisted living home that we had just put my mother in 3 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Before that. So I'm coming from visiting my mother for the very first time in this assisted living place. She's 94 and she's struggling with dementia.
Okay.
At varying levels, nothing extreme right now, but we know about dementia and how it progresses. At the very same time I was coming from that experience, Calvin called me to say, come help us talk about how it is that music has a healing property to it. And one of the things that I do understand about music and music therapy is that the brain exists at a particular oscillating gamma ray, a gamma rhythm for the brain. And what they're doing now, particularly with Alzheimer's patients, is that they are testing and producing ways to make a difference. And the brain exists in the best test that they produced at 40 hertz. So they've got this procedure that exists at 40 hertz that they expose the patient to, and they found out that it makes a difference in how it is that they can remember things, recall things, produce things. And I'm just coming from dealing with my mama in this place where she's suffering through this very same thing. And so every time I think about it, it really brings me to another kind of emotional state, because the first thing I'm grateful for is a creator, but the other thing that the creators let me know is that he put me in touch with my boy who was in touch with me and didn't even know it.
Right.
I didn't know where I was at when he called and said, do this, but I was coming from that experience. The very same moment, I remember the street I turned on to come to the crib after I visited my mom. And that speaks to how it is that we are connected.
Man.
Yes.
You dig? And that's a true story. And I didn't share that with you, Calvin, but the same is happening here. And so when I think about what it is that I want to bring to young folks who are in their process of evolving, one of the things that I want them to know, and I've always taught, when I go into the classroom, when I was in the classroom, one of the first things that I said was that I'm here to teach you something, but the last thing that I'm going to teach you is music. I'm your music teacher, but the last thing you're going to get is music. One of the first things that you're going to get is those things that we talked about, being grateful and being meditative and being focused, and who you are being in the process of you making music.
Right, exactly.
There was a thing that, and this is really interesting, there was a thing that Imamu Amiri Baraka talked about in one of his books, and I think it was Blues People. And he talked about Coltrane, John Coltrane, and he said, it was so powerful for me. I read this in college. It was so powerful. I memorized it. And what it is he said the catalyst and necessity of John Coltrane's music must be understood as it exists before it exists as music.
Oh my God.
Man.
That's a lot.
I was a sophomore in college when I read this, because we were all getting books from Ellis Bookstore. Remember that spot? Third in college, boy. I was up in there. That was one of them. And I must have been 18, 19 years old, but it stuck with me. And so my teaching has taken on that kind of principle. Is that before I can teach you music, I got to teach you how to be you.
Right.
Before anybody can consume your music, they need to know who you are, so that they know where that music is coming from.
Right.
And so
because music is powerful.
Those kinds of beings, that's what I teach in the classroom before I teach music. But I also want them to know that music is a unique whole that's created from various disciplines. And some of those disciplines are like science and math and art and literature and history. You can't have music unless you have those things. The sound is the birth parent of music. Music doesn't happen without sound. And science is the lab where music was created. And math is kind of like the calculator that validates the music. Just like what you were talking about with frequencies and a harmonic tone, overtones, and a harmonic series. It happens and it's validated. Music is validated like that by studying that math procedure. And art is the thing that humanizes the music. And literature I identify as the system that explains the music. And history is the vault that archives the music. So you can't have any of the music that you do without those particular disciplines. So music is interdisciplinary. And if we are to
break it down,
if we're to teach those things, we need to teach the relationships between each of those disciplines that can create a whole, which is music, or which is a being. I can't exist without any of those things either. We can't. And that's what we've been talking about, this particular thing, particularly frequencies. You know, we all have it. You know, they heal by it. You know, you study it so that you can bring a whole nother way of being for the patients that you deal with, right? You know, and Calvin, you deal with that. And I've been telling you this, man, ever since me and you started dealing with this kind of conversation, is that Calvin is bringing people together because of the vibe that he has, that he radiates, and people are attracted to it. You can't help but listen to this cat once he's
I know.
Hey, man, this is beautiful. We got about 3 minutes left, and there's a couple of things that I got to say. And one of them being, I so appreciate you guys for opening up and for doing the how. You know what I'm saying? Being honest, being open-minded, and being willing. You know what I'm saying? This is so beautiful. But it is one thing. I got a couple of suggestions, and I wrote these down. you guys are in the company of some people that I really have a lot of respect for. I've been studying these guys for some time now, probably 4 or 5 months, and I suggest to everybody, you might not agree with what they say, you might not agree with how they say it, but let's be open-minded. You know what I'm saying? And take a listen to these guys, just like you listen to Lucius and Rod, and see if something that they're saying hits home that might help you or a loved one. And these guys are Lil Duval. He just made a song, Don't Worry, Be Happy. He redid that song, Lil Duval. Dr. Umar Johnson, I'm sure you guys have heard of him, but his school isn't open yet, but he's opened 2 schools, a high school and a grammar school in Wilmington, Delaware. And he's just waiting. He said he's waiting on some black tradespeople to help him to finish the HVAC and the plumbing and that kind of thing.
Wow.
Master P got about, y'all know him. He's okay. And he's got about 30 or 40 inventions, gym shoes, just all kinds of things that he's doing. And he got 2 sons. Both of them got scholarships to college. They're great basketball players, and he's telling them it's more important to have knowledge than to play basketball. And he's schooling them in that manner. Dave Chappelle is a Muslim. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but Dave Chappelle is a Muslim, and I listen to him because I understand what it is that he's doing in terms of using comedy as a means of bringing people together. Another one is Eddie Griffin. Eddie Griffin is kind of brash, but he got something to say. Kanye West, people say he's crazy, but he got something to say. And there's a guy I met not long ago. His name is Dr. Alim Bey. But if you guys hear these names again, if you see it on the internet or whatever, tune in and hear what they got to say.
Cornel West and Michael Eric Dyson.
Michael Eric Dyson, exactly.
Cornel West.
Yeah, and that book you bought me, man, Chancellor Williams. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. And so black men, I'm reaching out to you guys. Let's start sharing what we ain't hearing. We couldn't hear these 2 guys if they wasn't on tonight, and I know they gave you something to take home with you. So if you raising children, paying for college, married your baby's mama, you taking care of your mother, your father, you talking on social media, you got a job, you got a run-in with the police, you in the church, you in a mosque, you in a temple, you love you living your best life, holla at me, CalvinGant.com, CalvinGantt.com. Y'all, we got to get out of here. It's 8 p.m. and I had a ball, and I'm going to holler at y'all as soon as we get off of here, all right?
All right.
All right. Thanks, y'all. And thanks y'all for listening.
All right.
Hey, you know what? We ain't got to stop. Y'all got something to say? I forgot. You can say something if you got something to give some people something to take home with them.
I'm saying it right now.
I'm good, man. I just want to recognize what it is that just happened.
All
the
right.
relationship between product, between information and people, a huge benefit.
All right. Rod?
Just be the fundamental. and if you want to know what that's all about, go to soundtohealth.com.
My man. Okay, y'all. As always in parting, I'll holla.
All right. Peace.
Holla on.
All right. Good meeting you.